Okay, so on January 1st, 2025, on this day, church history, the year 404 was the last known gladiator fight in Rome. Sometime earlier, Telemachus, a monk from the Eastern Roman Empire, had been killed by spectators in the Roman Colosseum for attempting to separate gladiatorial combatants. According to church historian Theodoret, when Emperor Honorius learned of this, he declared Telemachus a martyr and abolished the gladiatorial games for good. So yeah, that's from this website, studylight.org. I have some more information too. So here's the origin. This is from, I believe, Wikipedia. The origin of the Telemachus narrative. The church historian Theodoret, bishop of Cyrrhus in Syria, first told the story in the 5th century in his succinctly titled Ecclesiastical History, a history of the church in 5 books, from 322 to the death of Theodore of Mopsuestia, AD 427. Theodoret relates how a monk from the eastern part of the empire named Telemachus came to Rome and saw the gladiatorial games when, quote, after gazing upon the combat from the amphitheater, he descended into the arena and tried to separate the gladiators. The sanguinary spectators, possessed by the demon who delights in the effusion of blood, were irritated at the interruption of their cruel sports and then stoned him who had occasioned the cessation. So the amphitheater mentioned here suggests that the Colosseum, or the Flavian amphitheater, was the famous one that we know of in Rome. This arena refers to sand covering the wooden floor to absorb the blood of the games. So abolishment of the gladiatorial games. Gladiatorial games had been declared ended several times previously, though unsuccessfully. Numerous Christian emperors, including Constantine, who first made Christianity a legal religion in Rome, Constantius and Julian, had abolished the games too. Even Emperor Theodosius I, who made Christianity the official religion of Rome in the 4th century, published an edict against the games. But it was not until Honorius, that's Emperor Honorius, who recognized Telemachus' martyrdom, that the games ended. This time it stuck, because 6 years earlier, the Visigoths under Alaric sacked Rome, a significant event in the decline of the Roman Empire. And then, interestingly, it was back in 1984, President Ronald Reagan told a story of the little monk at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C. His story is the narrative of a Hollywood epic, as it could only be orated by the Hollywood actor he once was. At this international event, which began in 1953, the President recounted the story this way. Quote, this power of prayer can be illustrated by the story that goes back to the 4th century. The monk followed a crowd into the Colosseum, and he saw the gladiators come forth, stand before the emperor and say, we who are about to die salute you. And he realized they were going to fight to the death for the entertainment of the crowds. He cried out, in the name of Christ, stop. And his voice was lost in the tumult there in the great Colosseum. And as the games began, the crowd saw the scrawny little figure making his way out to the gladiators and saying over and over again, in the name of Christ, stop. And they thought it was part of the entertainment at first, and they were amused. But then, when they realized it wasn't, they grew belligerent and angry. And as he was pleading with the gladiators, in the name of Christ, stop, one of them plunged his sword into his body, and as he fell to the sand of the arena in death, his last words were, in the name of Christ, stop. And suddenly, a strange thing happened. The gladiators stood looking at this tiny form lying in the sand. A silence fell over the Colosseum, and then someplace up in the upper tiers, an individual made his way to an exit and left, and the others began to follow. And in the dead silence, everyone left the Colosseum. That was the last battle to the death between gladiators in the Roman Colosseum. Never again did anyone kill or did men kill each other for the entertainment of the crowd. One tiny voice that could hardly be heard above the tumult, in the name of Christ, stopped. It is something we could be saying to each other throughout the world today.